Hi, I'm Hope Witkowsky, your host of Senior Scene. Today, the life expectancy of individuals is 78 years. The probability that we will lose somebody that we love becomes very real. How do we react to that? How do we deal with this loss? Well, on today's show, we have a few people who will show us how they have learned to deal with life after death.
Even with modern medical science, which has indeed made a difference, including exactly when we're going to die. And the key would be for us to figure out a way to accept that the reason why one has to go through bereavement is very basically have to do with they chose to do relationship. And that's no small thing because, as one might imagine, there's a very high percentage of human beings around the world that are not doing relationships. And when you dig down, a significant percentage of those really get into a feel of they're too scared to do relationships because they're afraid to lose. But I'm yet to meet anybody in any of our bereavement groups that would rather have not loved as compared to loved and lost.
Dr. Stephen Lautenberg has patients who have lost not just a spouse, but parents in his grief counseling group. Like Lisa Schultz, who lost her father a few years ago. She says that it was her father's constant support of her dream to be a personal trainer that now carries that support into the life she lives today.
I was a gymnast for 18 years, so we would travel together. They would take me to work out. There's nothing in Tehachapi, where I'm from originally. And so we would travel to Bakersfield, 2 hours round trip so I could work out. And my mom would do that. We'd come down to LA or the LA area, San Diego, so I can compete. So he'd take me there, and my mom as well. He would very much in the stock market, so he helped me with that. And he's a really good guy.
When we think of losing a loved one, we realize that usually it will be a parent. We believe that we will have many years of life with our parents, but sometimes things don't quite turn out as planned.
My father was everything to me. We have a really good relationship, a strong relationship. It was not a sudden thing, so he had polio and he was in an iron lung when he was younger, about 23. And so it affected his lungs. He ended up being on a feeding tube for 2 years, so it just progressed to where we knew it was coming.
Lisa's father passed away 4 years ago, but she feels like she gave him a gift being with him at the hospital when he died.
I feel very fortunate because I was at the hospital, and the doctor came in and asked if it was it was time, that there's nothing else that could be done, so it was our decision to take him off life support. I along with my mom, made the decision to pull the plug, and I have some background in energy work, and so I was able to do like a release of his energetic field, and I feel very connected to that and fortunate that I was able to. It was a gift to me.
For Lisa, coping with the loss of her father, who she was so close to, resulted in a big void in her life, but she found ways to cope by continuing her career plan to help others get into shape by being their personal trainer.
I think right afterwards, I purchased a dog, and then I moved to Maui. So it affected me, I think, in a way that I wasn't aware of, because I just, out of the blue, decided to go. And it's been a little interesting since.
For others, coping with death came in the form of losing a spouse. Al is 92 years old, and he was married for 64 years when he lost his wife.
She'd been having some heart problems, and she had to go, and we agreed. Well, she said that she didn't care to live the way she was with the heart problem, putting so many restrictions on what she could do. And so we agreed that she'd go in for a new heart valve. And the operation itself was successful. I saw her in the morning It was about 4 days after the operation, or 5 days. I saw her in the morning, and she was getting ready to be transferred out of the ICU into the regular hospital so that she could get acclimated to it. And then in about 2 days, she was going to come home. And I got a call in the afternoon that she'd passed away.
Patricia Wright also lost her husband after 20 years of marriage. She describes her life with him as a real love affair. Her loss is fresh, having lost her husband only last year.
It was difficult. However, what's interesting is he was pretty sick the last 3 years, in and out of nursing homes. And so it gave me an opportunity to run the household, write out the checks. And at first he said he didn't trust me in a man kind of way because he wasn't sure if I was going to be able to take care of the house. But he began to realize that I was capable.
For Patricia, she realized she needed some professional help to get over the great loss that she was feeling every day.
It was hard for me to see that to know that Ken was gone. And I found myself crying a lot, and then I'd hold back the tears because I didn't want to feel the pain, and I kept pretending like everything was okay. And I did a lot of praying, and I joined a grief group, Beach City's Health District grief group, and that was, I can't remember, maybe 5 months. And there were 9 of us in this group, and we got to be really close during that time. And it was I don't remember, but they told me afterwards that I cried a lot during the meetings. And it was nice to be able to be with people that were going through the same thing.
For many who are living with their losses, some experience some amazing happenings that suggested that the loved one's spirit is still here on this physical earth.
I was in a situation where I wasn't sure what to do. I needed some help, and so I was just very frustrated, and I'm all, "Dad, do something!" And 10 minutes later, I had an email, and it worked out beautifully. So there's still this connection. I do believe that.
Al had another spiritual happening that seems to match Lisa's.
I hear her walking in the house every once in a while, and sometimes I'm doing things, and I know if if I look at the clock and it's like 6:30 and I'm busy doing something, I know that if she were around, I'm waiting for her to say, "Hey, Al, are you coming in for dinner or not?"
The life of my father, I still feel that he's with me. I know that when I see butterflies that I'll say, "Oh, hi, Papa." You know, when I see a butterfly flying by, and you don't see them a lot, but there are, so it's like a really special time when I do see them.
I kind of look on the fact that since we don't know, and since we're trying to make some sense out of what happened when our dear loved ones die, we have to kind of make sure we don't make it too negative. So as a result, if you just kind of let it be for a while, people often either in their dreams or even when they're awake, they come into what they feel like is in contact with their dear loved ones who died. And I could tell you, based upon my own experience, I'm quite earthly, so I'm really not related to another. I don't feel what some people feel in terms of the spiritual world, but I do work on it. And I've learned that why should we expand the truth into something negative? And when people do come into contact with their dear loved ones, whether it be a butterfly, which I have heard often, by the way, for some reason, why not? Why not look on it, since we don't know, as there really is more to this world than the 5 senses? And in addition to that, I really want us to embrace, which I do work with people, the fact that maybe, just maybe, and I'm not saying I know whatsoever, maybe the only thing that happens when we die, or one of the major things that happens, is we shed our body, it's a transformation, and the real us may still go on. Of course, I'm hoping that way. That's my particular hope. But in addition, since we don't know, why put a big negative on it and think of something that's much more dramatic and much more difficult to absorb?
I feel like since Ken passed away, that I've been able to get a better grasp of who I am now that I have the background of the, like I said, the refinancing the house and taking care of the home, and just doing more things around the house for myself without being told that I have to do this or that. So it's given me a better understanding of what it's like to be a woman rather than a couple.
Medical research suggests there's a big difference in how men and women respond and function after losing their spouse.
If I were to think of the highest percentage of men that I get to work with, after 3 to 6 months, they really, really are so lonely that they really are looking into the possibility of female companionship. With the women, they really feel more, it feels like to me and to everyone in the groups, they're a little more secure with not rushing into anything in terms of change in their lives. They're more comfortable keeping the place they live in, whereas some of the men move right away. I was just working with one the other day that's moving to Palm Springs. And, so there really is a difference. Now, when you ask which one is coping better, I always go back to the base of, yes, it's unique, and they're probably coping the very best they can given what's inside of them.
Dr. Lautenberg stresses that there are differences in how males and females are perceived after the loss of their spouse.
The woman who's going through bereavement doesn't want to feel like a victim. She wants to feel like a real person with regards to this. So based upon how I work with people, I think the very best thing this couple could do is ask this woman, this single woman, what is most comfortable for her? How do they want to approach her? In other words, get rid of all the in-between about what the difficulty between communicating, and go ahead and communicate to the max. And ask the questions and say, look, this is pretty awkward, possibly for you, but I want to hear from you. What's the best way that we can do this? The three of us are going away. We're going to have a good time, but the only way we're going to be able to do that for sure with regards to you and with regards to us is to clear the air. And let's find out what you're comfortable with and what you're not.
Dr. Lautenberg states that we can make the decision on how we live our life after the death of our family member.
I just decided to take a class, a personal trainer class, and it's something I've always wanted to do, but I've never felt that, again, being a couple, and just because of my background, I never felt like I could do much of anything. And then being with Ken for 20 years and being a wife, I pretty much was home and stayed and took care of him. But now that I'm on my own, it's given me this brand new life. And there are times where I feel guilty about it because I'm sad that I don't have him anymore. But I'm also excited that I have a brand new life. It's a clean slate, and I can do anything that I want to do. I can budget the money. I can take trips if I want to. I can just do anything I want.
Our 93-year-old is going on with his life doing some of the same things he did when his wife was alive. He is an amazing man of his age and still lives in the same house. One thing is for sure, he hasn't lost his sense of humor.
I'll give you the same story that I give to other people who ask me how do I spend my time. When she was alive, 75% of her time was spent taking care of the house and doing things that she had to do, and she had 25% loafing time. And I was about the same way, 75% busy and 25% loafing time. But now that she's gone, I'm doing her 75% also, and that's 150%. And you can't do that.
Al found that life was changing drastically once his wife died. The person who not only was his friend and companion did many of the chores around the house.
First of all, the microwave is God's gift to the single person.
When I asked our 93-year-old how he was going to celebrate his birthday, I was blown away by his humorous answer.
Get out of bed.
Core Medical is a research group who states that studies show that having a hobby can help relieve stress and prevent depression. Al is way ahead of the game.
I still do a little woodworking. I make children's toys. I just got 2 new customers, one new and one coming up.
It truly is kind of starting over again. So initially, the real heavy stuff about it is the deep emotions of missing and feeling alone. So those are the 2 very obvious truths that one feels. The question is, what are they going to add on that's going to be obstructive in nature to them living somewhat of a balanced life? It's certainly out of balance at the beginning. We're all humans, and I encourage people to really do their emotions, to cry whenever they feel like crying, and make sure they cover that base. But what you're referring to is the other aspects of trying to get the balanced life. And what I've learned from others is that it's okay to, at first, fake it to make it. In other words, at first you go to all these different events that you used to love doing. You're certainly emotional because you used to do it with your husband or wife. But just the same, you go, you feel kind of numb, you may not enjoy it the first couple times, but you get back into practice. And the interesting aspect of us humans is we can kind of adapt to anything. In conclusion, Hope, there really is life after death. And really, we are still in control of really the 2 things that we really ought to be in control of, and that's our attitude and our perspective. And we can work with others to be able to have time and patience to go through a very painful period and get balance back again in our lives.
Losing the life of a loved one is never an easy thing. But as we've seen from our guests on today's show, there is life after death. I hope you've learned some tips on today's show. I'm Hope Witkowsky reminding you, knowledge, it's a powerful tool. Tune in next time for more secrets on successful aging.